Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. So imagine if your family had a rotating grandpa every 4 or 5 years, and that grandpa could control the bank accounts and assets of your family like 100%. How soon would your inheritance or family assets just basically disappear? And how soon would your family just pretty much fall apart? Well, essentially, in Korea, that's kind of how the public organizations are run, where we have these appointments called like parachute CEOs go and run public institutions. And it's creating a bit of a controversy right now because the outgoing Moon administration is quickly appointing many different CEOs to these public administrations when they're leaving, when the new administration, the Yoon Suk-yeol administration, is supposed to appoint them. But the system itself is all just kind of all messed up. Now, this appointment process is not unique to Korea. In the United States, the US president, the executive branch, appoints its cabinet ministers, cabinet level directors that run the big agencies. I believe there's 15, and then there's about 50 other independent federal commissions like the Security Exchange Commission that's also appointed by the President of the United States. The President of the United States also appoints many federal judges. So the theory there is that you want the government to sort of move in one direction, in one team with the president, so that's why they get to appoint them. And there's supposed to be some checks and balances within the organization. So I'm assuming in the United States, from what I've learned when I was, a student there, that there's a thing called entrenched bureaucracy where the rules and the rail guards of a slow-moving bureaucracy in the United States keeps an appointed leader that's transitory from making too many changes and from being too corrupt from their appointment. However, in Korea, that is not necessarily the case, and I have seen firsthand that we call it a parachute appointee, nakhasan, insa. So nakhasan means parachute, insa basically means the appointee. They come in and they literally are like it's like getting a new stepfather or step grandfather who suddenly has like complete control over the company. And a lot of the times they don't even have any real expertise in running the organization, and they are there literally just as a stepping stone until their next political career move. And a lot of the times they are there because of a political reward. And so there's a lot of havoc that's being created within the organization. Suddenly priorities shift, everything changes, people then start politicking, and then the goals of the organization aren't necessarily to serve a customer, serve the citizen. It's to basically serve the politics within, to serve this sort of power game that's going on. And yes, there's a lot of corruption. So News Tapa, which is an independent news organization, is currently doing an investigation right now into a few of these public institutions where they're looking into a strategy that a lot of these parachute appointees have been utilizing, where they're basically misappropriating funds through donations. And so what the parachute appointee CEO would do would basically use the budget of the company and to make donations to organizations that have nothing to do with the goals of the corporation like a high school reunion or academic forums or conferences that are related more towards the CEO rather than the actual organization, like the Korea Gas Corporation is being investigated, Korea Midland Power, and then there was a case from years ago where like some guy just worked for one day and got $80,000, and that was with like a nuclear power commission. It's all sorts of shady. One of the broadcasting organizations I work for, that CEO always changed because the CEO was appointed by the president, so in the Blue House. And for a lot of the appointees, they were like professors. And I was just like, what kind of hubris is that where you think that a professor can, like, anybody can run a broadcasting station? Would you put a professor in charge of a hospital? Like, you think anybody can? That is so insulting. And so one of these professors, they got into a lot of trouble because of, embezzlement. And there was another appointee that didn't last very long. And he actually did have a broadcasting background, but he had strong political ambitions. In Korea, there are some former broadcasting announcers who then go into the politics track, and he even had the nerve to even kind of imply and ask some of us, because we were freelancers, well, on paper freelancers, but we were working like employees, but that was the whole thing about the whole lawsuit, but that's another story. But had the nerve to say like, oh, well, do you think that they even have the loyalty to the company because they're freelancers? While he was just even plotting his own move to try to become a government level appointee, and he was on his way out in a few months. He was barely even there. However, he did give us the glamour lights. He did notice, because he was a former news anchor, and he was just like, wait a minute. Like, he looked in the studio. He's like, wait a minute. The anchors are missing the critical light from the desk, where I didn't know this. You have to have a light that goes up, to kind of give you that glow. I don't have it here, but it made a difference. So, well, thank you for that. But then he went off and he was an appointee, but then at the last minute he had to withdraw. Apparently there was some sort of situation where the rival party was going to release some sensitive information if he did not withdraw. So that was a big drama, but behind the scenes. So that's just, between you and me. So in any event, these parachute appointees, I'm not a fan of them. I think that in any organization, you should have stable management by people who actually are experienced and who have worked up through the organization, or who are probably lateral hires from the industry running it. I mean, why would you have, for example, a law professor run a broadcasting industry, or somebody who was just rewarded politically run an organization? It really creates a lot of instability for any kind of company. And we saw some of the heights of it being so hypocritical even in the United States under the Trump administration. And it just did not make sense. And so sometimes these appointments, you really have to be very careful with, and that's why these elections really do matter, who you choose for the president, because they really start to change a lot of people's lives when people are working for these government affiliated agencies. So if you're ever wondering why there is such a strong push on the labor side, where like employment is almost like lifetime guaranteed, it's because of this constant uncertainty with the management that comes in from these appointments. And so that's unfortunate, because you get imbalance on both sides, where there should be a more fluid labor culling, I would say. Like, basically, some people who should not be there forever are there forever, and then people who come and go at the top, like, constantly, should not be doing that. It's like the worst of both worlds. Like, why would you have people at the top, like, who are basically siphoning off the money and, like, changing the top level priorities, like confusing the direction of the organization, constantly moving out politically and being so unstable, and then the workforce being so rigid and crusty, where people should actually be moving in and out, but then they're just kind of like solidly there and being protected, because if not, then with every regime change, there would just be people just like losing their jobs like left and right. So there's got to be more of a balance and, structural reform of the system. Otherwise, this is just going to continue on. So this latest drama with the Moon administration just trying to appoint their people on their way out, most likely probably to kind of keep their people, to kind of keep a lid on some things that maybe they don't want to get out into the world, is just the tip of the iceberg. You got to change the system. All right, guys, what do you think? Do you have this thing in your country? I'm sure you do. And this is just one of those things that just halts progress, I believe, in the public sector. We have to find a different way. I think there's got to be a different way to serve the public and also be able to support the executive branch. We got to come up with some new ideas. All right, guys, remember to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Tune in next time. Don't forget to subscribe. Find us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Love you.